Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our program tonight. And we are back in session. Hello. Welcome to Faith-Filled Mom's Night In. I am your host, Tanya Mae Avent, and I'm joined by my producer, Markeisha Green, and my lovely Faith-Filled mom. She's not co-hosting tonight, but she's out here for our welcome with me, Deetra Smith. Good evening, ladies.
Hey there.
How are you? It's been a couple of months since we've been online. We hope everyone's been watching our rebroadcast every Tuesday, so you are not without content, faith-filled content. But we ladies, we moms, we took some time off to replenish. It was a a long season, and we needed some time of renewal and refreshment. But we're back for our 4th season. Thank you, God.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Yes.
And we got what, 8 months? Like, we are doing this. We are really bringing this content and working and striving and serving, and it's a blessing. It is definitely work. It's ministry, but it's a blessing as well. And we are honored and thrilled to be here again for our 4th season with new topics.
Yes.
I was gonna say new guests, but some old guests tonight. A guest is coming back to continue on. But I'm overjoyed. How are you ladies doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Ready for school to start.
Yeah, we have a couple more days. Are
Yeah.
you already in school, Markeisha? I think you started already, right?
No, actually the boys, I started a new position. So if I were at Concord, yes, I would say that I have already started. But no, the boys don't start until Thursday.
Okay, so we all start Thursday. That's the magic day for us this week. So y'all pray for us, Faith-Filled moms, and everyone else watching this year. And we want to say hi to Shira. She could not be on, but her girls started school today. Freshman year and senior year. So two high schoolers.
Yes,
so Shira,
but we
miss you, but we love you.
She's back there doing our Faith-Filled moms comments.
Yes.
So.
We see her on there. Hello.
She's with us.
So hi, I see Nicole is on. We just saw Nicole at our retreat.
Yes. And along with her daughter.
Yeah. So we had a wonderful retreat. For those that were able to join us, thank you so much. Those local to the tri-state area. If you're not local next year, you got to make travel plans to come and join us so we can meet you in person. I see Sheila's on. Sheila's in Georgia. So Sheila, we're going to need you to travel up north to see us next year for our Faith-Filled Moms retreat. But we had a wonderful retreat.
So nice. Yes. So great.
Mom's Night In, Lord. We just thank you for every guest who is on live with us now. Those are going to be joining us in the future, God. We just thank you for tonight's show. We thank you for Shonda, Lord. We thank you for her returning and coming back to us, Lord. And we just pray that you would just bless tonight's show, Lord. Bless all of our technology, that everything would work exactly as it should, even though it's a rough start, God. But we know that with that opposition, God, that you have a word and a message for all of us. So we stand in great anticipation of what we're going to hear tonight, Lord. Bless our technology. Bless whatever is going on, whether it's the provider, the internet, our machines, God. We just pray the technology would work exactly as it's supposed to, so nothing would be lost. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So ladies, so
I'm looking, you see the message?
Yeah, we're getting messages. So it looks like StreamYard is having some issues. So if you get kicked off, I'm gonna
work on it at my end.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say goodbye to you both, and we're gonna pull out the Shonda, and we're gonna get started. Bye, ladies.
Right.
See ya.
So yes, we are going to bring out our guest for tonight, the Shonda Smith, affectionately known as Shonda. Shonda,
Hi.
welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Girl, I thought it was my internet or something, girl. I was like, what happened?
We all were like, what? What just happened?
I was like, Lord, what Comcast doing tonight? The devil is busy. Okay.
Yes, he is. But that's all that means. We keep saying, we know that it's going to be a powerful word. So hopefully those that are on Facebook can join over. So share, if you're watching, have those that are on Facebook. If it's an issue, have them join over on YouTube so they don't miss our stream tonight. But Shonda, we're going to go ahead and get started regardless. Hopefully we will get everything working in the background. But thank you for joining. For those that maybe did not see Shonda, she joined us earlier this year for season 3, excuse me, for our miscarriage series. But what I love about your story, you are the type of guest that we have prayed for, because when I first connected to you, it was our infertility series, 2022, maybe? I think it was 2022. Yeah. We were connected and you were struggling with your infertility, which was what you shared about in your miscarriage story. And so connected, and we were praying for you. And I remember getting your text that you were expecting, and just the whole journey, like almost 2 years now for your journey. So to have to know you and to know our stories were ministering to you, and then to have you be able to come on, that God is literally bringing forth your story before our very eyes during this time, and being able to come share your struggles with miscarrying and finally conceiving and being able to successfully deliver. Albeit premature, which we're going to talk about tonight, but God is just good in all of that. You know what I mean? He's just been good in all that. So as we start, just go ahead and share with our guests a little bit about who you are, what you do, about your family, and then we'll get right into your story.
So, as you guys know, my name is Shonda. I work in HR. I'm currently in school getting my master's degree. I don't know what is wrong with me. I always have to be doing
newborn, almost, about to be a toddler.
So I'm getting a master's degree in HR. Me and my husband have our 1-year-old almost. He'll be 1 on September the 19th. I'm so sad about it. So we're in the process of just, planning his party and just, making sure that we get him to see a bunch of his relatives, especially those that are older, grandparents and things like that. So, girl, we just trying to live life out here.
Yes. I know that Marquisha's back in the background working. So I wanted to share the picture of your family so everybody can see you and your husband and your beautiful son, who is 11 months and some weeks, about to be 1. Yes. We just thank God for it. It is amazing to see, who you prayed for,
I know
that God is good. So we're grateful. We're thankful. Yes. So we're going to get right into your story. Usually I pray with my guests on, but we had to pray before you came on.
We prayed, honey, and I was praying with y'all.
But all is well. So just for those, if you are joining us for the first time, we want to say welcome. Please put in the chat where you're from. Again, our producer is background and she's working things out, but we'll see your comments on screen as she puts them up. But hello, Shonda. I know you have some family and friends that are joining us as well. So hello to all of Shonda's family and friends. And then also, of course, hello to all of our regular visitors and even some new ones that we have online tonight. We just thank you so much for joining us. So if you don't know who we are, Faithful Moms, we are a community of moms, and we provide biblical and emotional support and content to bring hope, encouragement, inspiration to women facing difficult seasons in life. So if you join us, every month we have a difficult season, which is what we call our themes. So this month's theme, as we're kicking off our season 4, this month's theme is Premature Births and NICU stays. And then next month for October, we're going to be talking about abuse. We're having moms that have experienced abuse in their life joining us. And then in November, before we break for our Christmas time, we're going to be having moms who've lost their father. So we welcome you to continue. Every Tuesday night, we are online. We have new stories. We have new content that is absolutely faith-filled, absolutely hope-filled, and bringing inspiration that we know, regardless of the story, we know the themes that we're talking about do cross situations, to be able to encourage everyone to still have faith, regardless of what your season is. The messages that we learn from each of our moms is absolutely able to transfer to whatever situations that we're facing in our own lives. So Shonda, thank you so much in advance for sharing your story. I know, sometimes things like this can be pretty personal, but I know that you're pretty free with your story, because it truly is a testimony. It truly is a testimony and just prayers that have been answered. So if you know someone who needs some encouragement tonight, please go ahead and share, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, share this story with them. And Shonda's full story will be on our website tomorrow, faithfillmoms.org. So if you have not done so already, please sign up there, leave us your email address. You'll get an email with each of our shows, our topics, and our guests for each week. So you never have to worry about who's on each week. You never have to worry about the topic. You'll have an email. You can click on the email link. It'll bring you right to us. So please go ahead and leave your name and your email address with us. And if you know someone who needs encouragement, if you know someone who needs some inspiration, you know someone who's going through a difficult time and just needs to hear some encouragement, please, please, please make sure you invite them. I know that they will be blessed by our conversation tonight. So Shonda, for those that have not, and for Shonda, even on our website, you can go to our miscarriage. If you go on our in our menu, go to the miscarriage series, you can hear more of her story. But we're going to just kind of talk high level, Shonda. Just you can condense, maybe talk about high level your infertility journey, the years that you went through, that struggle, and then talk about when you finally discovered that you were expecting.
Yeah. So I know in that story, I talked a little bit about this, but we were struggling for about 7 years, my husband and I. We did, all of the tracking, on the phones and the fertility apps and all of that stuff. We got pregnant, had a miscarriage. A year later, got pregnant again, had another miscarriage, got pregnant again, had another miscarriage. So we're like, okay, something is going on. We need to find out. Went to the doctor, did an IUI procedure, which is basically like they are timing your fertility, your ovulation window. And then you basically get inseminated. So we've done that 3 times. All 3 failed. And our doctor said, I don't want you to have to continue to spend money on this. So I think the next route is IVF. And I was completely against it at first. But then I decided, like, you know what, let's just try it and let's just do it. Let's see what happens. And we started the process last year in January with taking a bunch of medication, shots, you name it. We did it. To our egg retrieval, we got 5 embryos. We have 4 left that are sitting in the freezer chilling. And we put one of them in March. We found out that we were expecting on March 31st, 2023. And this little baby came in
Wait, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. I said, okay. Just to find out when you were expecting.
So March 31st, girl.
And what I love about
reel me in.
Yeah. What I love about your story, and again, go to the website, faithfulmoms.org. Even there's a testimony in how you were able to afford IVF as well. You shared in your story, and our conversations there. So you can read her story, you can watch our conversation there as well. But there's a testimony before the testimony. There's a testimony of even getting to this point. So you are expecting now. So talk about the feelings when how did you find out? Who told? Do you take a test? You had to go into.
So yes. So we did our egg transfer on March the 21st, 2021. And I had a trip scheduled with work that I had to travel. And my husband was able to go with me. We just had to purchase his own plane ticket and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, I talked to the doctor. They're like, we're fine with you going. And I'm like, this may be good because it'll take my mind off of like worrying about, because we had to wait. When they do the transfer, it's not like normally when you would obviously be intimate with your partner and then wait 2 weeks for your to see if your cycle came. It's different. So with IVF, what they did was they took the egg, sperm, all of that stuff, had the embryo. And so technically this embryo is 5 days old, basically. So instead of waiting a full 2 weeks, we only had to wait 9 days.
Okay.
Which
every day helps.
Better.
Right. Every day
it was a little bit better. So we actually went to San Diego. I was there for work, and we were supposed to test the day that we were leaving. And I'm like, I'll just go to the doctor, tomorrow, for the blood work, and I'll have them tell them, because I was not trying to take an actual test, because in my mind, I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed, and I'd rather for them to tell me than to, whatever. So I'm like,
on my own.
I couldn't do that. So we were driving to the airport. We're in California, driving to the airport, and we saw, it was pouring raining, first of all, pouring raining on the highway. And every time we've been there, it's never rained like this. The rain lets up and we see a giant rainbow, literally.
Wow. You did not say this the first time. You did not say this in your old story.
I didn't even think about it until now.
Wow.
I didn't think about
it. For that promise. Yes.
So we saw a rainbow, and then I went to the doctor that morning. I think it was like a Friday, I believe. March 31st. And I went in and I'm talking to, the people, because as you guys see, I'm very personable. So I'm like, cracking jokes, and I'm like, yeah, girl, we about to find out, take my blood. And so I get home and my husband is in the bed asleep. So I come in my office. I forgot what I was about to do. It was something. And about maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock, my phone rings. Now, I had got to the doctor about 7 o'clock that morning to get my blood work done. So about 2 hours later, my phone rings. I hop up from my seat and I run in there and wake him up like, the doctor is on the phone. Get up right now. They're on the phone.
Like Christmas morning.
And so I put them on speakerphone. And then she told us that we're pregnant. She told us the.
Did you know? Do you feel like you knew that that's what she was going to say?
Yes and no, because when I have been pregnant before, I'm like, I know I am. Like, you just have a feeling. I didn't have a feeling one way or another, but I don't know. I didn't have a feeling of disappointment. Like, I didn't feel like this was like bad.
Heaviness. Yeah.
Right. No, no heaviness at all. I was just like, well, we're going to see. I was very optimistic about it. So she told us, and then, tears, obviously. And then we're like, okay, we're not out of the woods. We have to make sure that the numbers double, when they do the blood work, your HCG levels. So they did that. We went back on a Sunday, I think. They checked it. Numbers looked great. And I'm like, okay, we're in business at this point. So at that point, I then took a pregnancy test just so I could see the words, because yes, I hear the doctor telling me and I can see the blood work and all of that, but I want something that either shows 2 lines or something that says yes or something that says pregnant. I needed to see that. So at that point I took a test and I already knew what it was going to say.
And it's amazing. You think about it, because you did that before, sometimes not showing pregnant, sometimes showing pregnant, and then having to experience that miscarriage, the miscarriages that you did. So it's just, again, is that you still have your stick? I don't think I have my stick. Some people.
No, it was one of the digital ones. Okay. And so the battery died, but I took a picture of it.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So I see a bunch of your people are on here. I see family. I see friends. So hi, Serenity and Dominique and Rosalind. And I see even Dad is on, Casper Poole.
Yes.
Welcome. And Dr. T. Hardison, excuse me, your best friend and sister from Pennsauken. So everyone, welcome. We just thank you so much for joining us. We probably know you already know the story, and you're all part of her story, I'm sure, as well. But thank you so much for joining us and supporting Shonda. So Shonda, again, as I was kind of talking about earlier, you've had this experience where you've taken the test and you've had confirmation that you're pregnant, and you've had experienced subsequent miscarriages after getting the good news that you're pregnant. So in this situation, you started bleeding in your first trimester.
I did.
So I want you to talk about that, because I know when we were talking, kind of just prepping for this, you were sharing that. Well, you share. You go. I'm not going to give it away. You talk about what you felt when you were bleeding, how you kind of just held on to your faith, and what that experience was like.
Yes. So I was about 6 weeks and some days. I was at work normally, and I went to the restroom and I was bleeding. So I was like, oh, I gotta call the doctor now. So I called the fertility place and I called my nurse and I was like, hey, I'm bleeding. I don't know what's going on. What you want me to do? And so she was just like, okay, can you come to the office? I'm like, I sure can. I can come there right now. I can be there in about 15, 20 minutes. So I ran and told my boss, I said, hey, this is what's going on. She was familiar. She knew what was going on, with our IVF and everything like that. So I told her, I was like, hey, I'm having some bleeding. I got to go. She was like, no problem. And I left. I called my husband. I was like, hey, I'm having bleeding. Meet me, at the place. And he's like, okay, I'm on my way. Now, while I'm driving there, I had about maybe a 15, 20-minute drive. I called my mom. And I'm telling her what was going on. And the whole entire time, I'm like talking to my mom and telling her I had no fear whatsoever. Wow. Like, I didn't think that anything was going to be wrong with the baby at all. My mind didn't even go there. My mind was like, okay, I'm bleeding. So let's find out why. Let's find out what the issue is. At not one point during the entire time where I was like, okay, something may be wrong with the baby. Maybe this is it didn't feel like that at all.
Yes.
Like, I've had them before, and I don't like, you guys know, like, it's different. You feel different, and this didn't feel like that. So we got there, they checked us, and she said the first thing that the doctor said was that everything's fine with the baby. And so that was just, a nice sigh of relief. I already felt that, but it was good to hear that confirmation. And then she told us that I had a subchorionic hematoma, which is basically like a little pocket of blood on the outside of the sac in the uterus. It wasn't harmful to the baby at all. Apparently, upon my research, it's common when you have an IVF pregnancy. So I'm like, okay, well, that's something good to know.
Yeah, that's information.
Vital information.
Somebody that may be going that route to know that, because I'm sure if someone is going that route, they've struggled again with infertility. And I'm sure any sign of any type of bleeding distress can really mentally be a struggle. So it's good to know.
Yeah. So we did that. They told us that it should resolve on its own. They put me on pelvic rest. They told me to just not like lift anything heavy. So I just, made my husband do everything. And just during that entire time, I was really at peace. Like, I knew nothing was wrong with my baby. I knew it. I knew nothing was wrong with my baby. So I was just grateful.
Yes. And then I know you talked about kind of just that experience from there, your pregnancy. You had a pretty good and enjoyable pregnancy from that point until we get to a point, I think September.
Yes.
That you had some sharp pain. So talk about that and kind of what that led to.
So my husband and I went on a baby moon. We went to Atlantic City, and we had a really nice time. We didn't really do too much. While I was there, I had like a random sharp pain, and I thought it was like a Braxton Hicks. And at this point, I was just entering my third trimester, and I'm a planner. And so I was reading all up on the things that, I could expect. And so I was like, okay, that's something, that I was expecting. It was, we went on our baby moon. I think it was like a Monday to like a Thursday or something like that. So the weekend came and went. I went to the doctor that Thursday when we got back from the baby moon, for just my regular checkup.
All's fine.
She's like, okay, you're going to be coming like now every 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, girl, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And I went to work on a Monday. I work in HR. So I'm like doing interviews and, whatever, sitting at my desk. And like the whole day I was like having some pain at the bottom of my stomach. And so I'm like, that's a little weird. But I didn't want to be like those people that call the doctor for everything.
Yeah.
But it kept happening. So I was like, I will call them. So I called the doctor, or what I thought was my doctor's office. I ended up calling my old doctor's office, an old OBGYN that I haven't used in years. And I called and I left a message, and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. So they end up calling me back. They're like, girl, you called the wrong number.
No record of it, right? Yeah, you had no record of it.
They're like, you meant to call this office. Do you need the number? And I was like, oh, man. So I'm like, okay, no, don't even worry about it because the pain subsided. I have the number. If I need them, I'll call them later. So I get home about 4:30, 5 o'clock. My husband had to go to work. So he worked overnight that night. He left the house about 6. I had told him about the pain, and he was like, you want me to stay home? And I'm like, no, for what? Like, go ahead to work. Like, I'm okay. And I have a high pain tolerance anyway. So like, I'm not thinking anything, and I hadn't had the pain since earlier. So I'm like, no, it's fine.
I think a lot of times in that part of the pregnancy, really in that second trimester, when we feel that, like you said, you chalk it up to Braxton Hicks, or you don't think anything is serious going on.
This is my first baby, so I don't know anything. Like I don't know what this
pain, you don't know what's supposed to expect.
I don't know what these pains are. I don't know if it's normal or what. So he goes on to work. About 6:30, the pain has started again. I was like, you know what, let me just call this doctor and just tell him what's going on, because like I just need to ease my mind. So I called a doctor. I left a message. I'm going on about the house, doing stuff. I'm in his nursery, organizing diapers or whatever I'm doing. I don't remember. And about 8:30, the doctor gives me a call back, and I tell him, about the pain. And he was like, well, I really would like for you to come in and, get checked out. And so I was like, okay, like I didn't really want to. And I was like, all right. And he was like, well, you can come in the morning to the office if you want. And I was like, no, well, if you're at the hospital, I'll just come. He was like, yeah, I'm here. I just got finished the surgery. I'm here all night. He said, so, just pop over. And I'm like, okay. So I take my time, honey. I go eat dinner. I get in the shower. I throw on like some sweats. I got my little water, in my purse and my headphones, honey. And I'm going to the hospital because I'm about to get sent home. I'm not going to stay there.
You're just going through the motions.
I already know this. Like in my mind, I'm like, I'm leaving. So I'm going to just go there and see what, what's going on with this baby and, come home. Well, I got there about 9:30 that night. And they called me back into the room. And I'm like talking to the nurses, and she's like, hop on the scale. And I'm like, make sure the scale says skinny girl. Like, and I'm just sitting there
playing around, like enjoying it.
Not thinking I'm in any kind of active labor at all. So I go back to the room. They hook me up. They, put the monitor thing on my stomach. And she's like, did you feel that? And I was like, no. And she was like, I was like, was I supposed to? And she was like, well, you just had a contraction. I was like, oh, was that bad? And she was like, well, we're going to find out. And I was like, okay. And I'm just like sitting there oblivious, completely. And so this midwife comes in. So it's the midwife and it's the nurse. And they're like, well, we want to check you. And I'm like, okay, girl, So she checked me. Most painful thing in the entire world. Really? In the entire world. Yeah. She checked to see if I was dilated. And when she finished, she was like, And I was like, wonder why she said that. So I didn't say anything. So I'm like, okay.
So you're very jovial. Do you feel your mood shifting now? Like after that, or are you still kind of?
Not yet.
Okay.
So she goes and get this speculum thingy to do something. And then she was like, okay, so you're 3 centimeters dilated. I was like, excuse me? Like, excuse me? What? So I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, so I don't think that's good. They're like, no. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to have to admit you. We're going to try to stop the labor. And I was like, I got to call my husband. And it was like, you should do that and tell him to get up here. And I was like, okay.
What's your mindset now?
My mindset now is, I can't have this baby today.
Yes.
Like nothing is done at the house. The crib not even together. Like in my mind, I'm like, I'm not prepared to have this baby.
And you're how many weeks at this point?
28 weeks and 4 days. So I'm like, I cannot have this baby. So they're like, we're going to send you up to labor and delivery. We're going to give you some magnesium or something like that to like stop the contractions. So I'm like, okay. And so that pain that I had felt earlier, and I was like, okay, that's the pain again. I said, what's that? She said, those are contractions. And I was like, oh, okay.
But sometimes you would have contractions and not feel them, and sometimes you would. Okay.
So my husband was at work. I call him and I'm like, yo, they said I'm 3 centimeters. I need you here today, now.
I wish he was gonna be like, what were you thinking, sir? Like,
oh my goodness. I'm sure he was so probably like, I knew I should have never went to work. I knew he was thinking that. And so I'm like, get up here now. And thankfully he worked about 15 minutes from the hospital. Okay. So it didn't take him long. I'm sure he probably got there in about 10 and was speeding and whatnot. So he gets there and it's about 11 o'clock at this point. And they're like, okay, we're going to send you upstairs. So, hospitals, when they are admitting you, you got to wait in the same room that you're in. I didn't get upstairs until like 1:00 at this point.
And you're still having contractions all that time. Wow.
They gave me some medicine, but the contractions weren't like, they weren't terrible, like pain wise. I mean, it felt like period cramps, and I have really bad period cramps. So it was just that. I mean, they were uncomfortable, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't have a conversation and talk through.
Okay.
So we get upstairs to labor and delivery. The nurse is like, giving me the magnesium catheter, all that stuff, because I can't get up out the bed now.
Right.
Because, what I forgot to mention, they said I was 3 centimeters dilated, but I also had a bulging bag, which I guess they could see like the sac of some sort. I don't know. So, all of that, we get settled. My husband makes his little bed, and it's about 2:00 in the morning at this time. The nurse is like, okay, I'm going to pop out and I'm going to let you get some rest. Hit the button if you need me. So I'm like, okay. So, we both, try to get some rest. And at this point, the only people that know that we're in the hospital is just us two. And I think I was talking to my mother-in-law about it a little bit, but I don't think at that point, she knew everything that was going on. Because we didn't want to panic anyone. We were like, let's see if they can stop it, because if we go home, like in my mind, we were going home like the next day, they're going to stop labor,
they're going to fix it. Right.
Everything's going to be fixed. We're going to go home, and then we're going to come back in a few months and then have the baby.
This is something I got to go through. Another thing on my journey that I have to go through. But I'm gonna get through this.
Yeah. So I was thinking nothing, like I'm not even thinking I'm having a baby. So about 4:00 in the morning, I like wake up out of my sleep and I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, that lady gave me a catheter. I don't know why I have to go to the bathroom. So I was like, let me just call the nurse. So I called the nurse and I'm like, hey, so I just have to, go to the restroom. And she was like, well, you shouldn't, because you have the catheter. And I was like, I know, that's what I thought. And so she was like, well, let me just check you. So she's like, well, the catheter is in. I'm going to go get the doctor. She like stopped mid-sentence. And I was like, okay, like I'm not thinking, I'm like completely oblivious.
Are you on any pain medicine at this point? Did they give you anything for the pain, or you didn't need
No, I didn't give me anything for the pain, because I wasn't in a whole bunch of pain. And I'm like, I don't, want to do all that if I don't need to. So she runs and gets the doctor, and my doctor, he like is so soft with his voice. And so he pops in, and so he's like, okay, let's see where we're at. And so he like checks me and he's like, okay, so we're 10 centimeters. And as soon as my husband heard 10 centimeters, he like jumps out of his sleep, like 10 centimeters. And I was like, okay. And he was like, we're in active labor. We're going to have the baby tonight. You're going to be fine. And I'm like, what?
Thank God for him. Thank God for him. And just that kind of delivery and not,
I instantly instantly started crying. And then he's like, okay, we're going to just check and see where the baby is. He literally like was Superman. Like he changed his clothes. Like that's how fast he like walked out the room and walked back in with like the ultrasound machine. And so he like checks me. He's like, okay, so the baby's breech. We're going to go ahead and do a C-section. You're going to be fine. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Like, I'm not going to be fine. What are you saying? I'm about to have a baby. Like, so many doctors, nurses, so many people came in this room as soon as this man left. The NICU team, anesthesiologist, so many people came in talking to me and my husband, sign this paperwork, look at this.
Are you understanding what they're saying, or is it
absolutely not?
Okay.
Absolutely not. I have no idea what is going on.
Okay.
At this point, only thing that I told my husband, call my mom, call your mom, call our moms right now.
Right.
Wake them up, because it's 4 a.m. at this point. Wake them up out of their sleep right now. They have to get up here because their grandson is about to be born into this world. They need to be here. So I'm like, my mom wasn't answering. I think she was at work. I'm calling my sisters, like, call mommy, get her up here. I'm signing papers. I'm doing all the things. And then next thing I know, they're rolling me back to the operating room. And it was not even far from where I was at. So I'm like, okay. I get up on the table thing, and my doctor is so sweet. He holds my hands while I'm getting my epidural. My husband comes in Baby pops out at 5:03. Literally about 8 hours after I got to the hospital, he was here.
Wow. Just like that. 8 hours, your life changed.
8 hours.
Dramatically.
8 hours ago, I was at home.
Right.
Eating
your water. Drinking your water.
Drinking my water.
and now you're a whole mom.
Now you're a whole mom. I didn't have this baby. And I'm like screaming at them. I'm like, is he okay? Is he okay? Because you know, he had such a like really soft cry, you know, being so small. And so I didn't hear, you know, him crying or anything. I'm like, is he all right?
Size? How small was he?
He was 3 pounds, 4 ounces.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
So talk about what happens next, because obviously he's got to go to the NICU. So talk about what it was like once he's here and how are they caring for him?
Okay. So day that he was born, my husband goes off with him to the NICU. So he knows exactly where we have to go. It's 5 a.m. at this point. I just have the baby. I go to recovery and I'm ready to go see my baby right now. Like somebody needs to take me to him. No, they make you, because I had a C-section. I had to wait until the epidural wore off. And I didn't get to see him until 2:00 that afternoon. So 8 hours later after I had him was when I was able to physically see him. Like my husband called me on like, you know, video so I could like see him that way. But we got there. I know that first day was very, very emotional. I probably cried that entire time I was in the hospital, up and down. I didn't know what to do at that point, because I'm like, my baby's here, but he's not here next to me in this room.
Me. Yes.
And so I have to like, and I'm on a different floor than he's on. So I have to like, you know, have my husband or a nurse or somebody take me, you know, so I can go and see him. And then the nurses are trying to tell me like, oh, these are the times, you know, for care. And they're trying to explain to me like the process of the NICU, and all of it's going in one ear and out the other. Because I think at that point I was like in shock, like, did I really just have a baby? Because I was not prepared for any of that. I would say the second day that we were in the hospital was when I started to get a little bit of my bearings with the NICU, like understanding it, because you have to like scrub in. They have different times in the morning where you're able to talk to the whole team. Everybody, the doctor team comes around and they talk to you about the progress of your baby, like what their plans for the day are.
So you're well informed then. You're definitely well informed about what's going on with your child. Wow. Okay.
And I remember like that first or second day I was there, I was talking to one of the nurses, one of the doctors there. And I was just like thanking them for, you know, taking care of my baby. And I'm like crying at the door. And then the doctor, she's like, can I come and hug you? And I'm like hugging the doctor, like crying. And but the NICU staff there is one of a kind.
What hospital? Let's shout them out.
Virtua and Voorhees.
Okay. That's where I
they are one of a kind at that hospital. The entire staff, I could call if I was in my room, check on my baby. You can go anytime, 24 hours a day. You could call 24 hours a day. They really take the time, and they not just care about your baby, but they care about us as a family. And so they're I think a lot of their mission is first to just make sure to educate us, you know, and tell us like, this is what's going on. And they encourage us, ask questions, because we may not be telling you, you know, everything, you know, that you may have questions on, or you may have follow-up questions on different things. So they're like, always ask. If you miss the time that the doctors come around in the morning, that's fine. You can always ask for the doctor to pop in, and, you know, they'll talk to you and let you know. So they're really involved as long as you are, you know, because I know that there are, you know, some families who were not, you know, as involved, but I was. My son was there. My mom decorated his room. We had scriptures all on the wall. We decorated, you know, he had his own clothes, his own like little sheets and stuff. I wanted it to feel like while he was there, homey for, you know, some sense of the word, but he was going to be spending his time there, and so was I. So I wanted him to be comfortable.
So how long was he there? Talk about some of the struggles that he had that kept him in the NICU.
He was there for 89 days. He came
3
home
months, almost 3 months, basically 3 months. Yeah.
Yep. He came home 10 days after his due date. So because he was so small, his breathing in the beginning, he was breathing on his own, but he had some fluid and things on his lungs. So a lot of times when you have premature babies, they forget to breathe because, they're born so early. So, the brain isn't fully developed. So they forget to breathe. And so it's just maybe for like a few seconds, but it can be scary because the machines start like, blaring and beeping and all kinds of things. So just adjusting to that, because in the beginning it happened a lot. And I'm like, what is going on with my baby?
Your heart
like,
probably jumps every time.
Girl, every time. And they're like, it's normal. He'll grow out of it. And I'm like, I don't know what y'all talking about. This keeps happening and I don't think it's normal, but it really is. And they do grow out of it. So I remember he was there for maybe he was 3 days old at this point, and he had to be intubated because of the fluid and stuff on his lungs. And I remember my husband and I were asleep. I don't remember what time it was. And one of the nurses popped in, and she was just like telling us that they had to intubate the baby. And she was just like, we just wanted to let you know. And I said, okay. She walked out, and I like sat there for a second, and I was like, I'm going to go see about my baby. And I literally got out the bed and I was like, are you coming? Because I'm about to go. And I literally walking after I'm just having a C-section. I'm in pain, but I don't care. I'm about to go and see about my baby. Right. So that was scary. I know at one point, one of the nurses said, and I didn't claim this, but she said that because he was on what's called the CPAP, which is like the oxygen support that goes like over their nose and stuff. She said that because he was on it for so long, that he would be basically diagnosed with having like chronic lung disease. And I was like, we don't claim that.
No.
We don't claim that, ma'am. So you can go ahead with that. He'll be fine. If he needs this a little bit longer, then that's okay. But that was really the only issue. It was just making sure that his lungs matured to where they needed to be at. One of the hurdles they say when you're in the NICU is eating. And so they were like, oh, he may not eat well. So, once he starts the bottle, you may be here, for additional weeks. He started the bottle and we were out of the NICU within 10 days.
Wow.
Okay. They said that we were going to be there for several more weeks. And I said, we won't.
I
said,
my son is once he started on there, he was able to. Wow. Talk about support. I know a lot of times and I'm sure, even as we talk about stories when people are in the hospital, but specifically for the NICU and for 3 months. Talk about support that you found within the NICU, the moms and the families there, but then your family and friends outside of the NICU. And I asked this question because I always ask, if I'm sure all of us are going to know someone who's had someone in the hospital or NICU. How can we support those people? So talk about the support that you had and the support that you needed.
So support that I had specifically in the NICU was the actual staff there. So the nurses were great. Like I said, any questions I had, if I was like, upset because the progress wasn't where I, thought it should be or thought where he should be, and it wasn't going the way I wanted it to go, they were there encouraging. I met two or three moms there that had premature babies. One of them, this was her second baby in the NICU. And so she was very encouraging, telling me about, the nurses, and they also have a Facebook page, where there's support there. And just, talking to other moms and just hearing their stories in the NICU. You learn that girls, especially African-American girls, they do the best in the NICU. I had no idea. And the nurses even told me that too. And then after that comes African-American boys. They do the best in the NICU as well. So that was also something that was encouraging to hear, that studies show that these babies do really well. They also had like this little room. I think it's called like the Ronald McDonald room there. So they have like little snacks and things like that for families. People would bring things all the time. So that was also great because I'm going to be honest, a lot of times you forget to eat, you forget to drink because you're just literally one track mind is just paying attention to your baby.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of different support, you know, specifically at the NICU. My family and my in-laws showed up and showed out, honey. Showed up and showed out. My mother-in-law probably was there every single day, except for a few times where she had to, you know, do stuff after work or whatever. But she was there most of the time, you know, just singing to him and, you know, encouraging and talking to us. My mom popped up a lot. She cooked for us. My dad was there every week. My sisters, my best friends, everyone, they always just reached out, checked on us, texted us. I've had people, you know, who are friends, and even you, like so many people like sent us like gift cards so that way, you know, we can make sure while we're out, we can, you know, eat and all of that. So I would say everyone was just so supportive, and it can be overwhelming, especially for myself, because I am the type of person where I'm always giving the support, and sometimes it's hard to receive
it. Yeah.
So that was a little bit of a struggle for me because I'm like, no, I'm the strong one. I'm okay. I'm good. I'll figure it out. But I learned that you have to be there, and your family is there for you to lean on them.
And I was going to say, sometimes God, that's God taking care of you through other people as well. For people like, you know, I think I'm the same way as well, where it's hard to receive.
Yeah.
Sometimes you block your blessing from God, that He sent people to help you, and we just want to be strong all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to do it for myself. Don't take the load. I'll do it myself. But a lot of times with that kind of personality, we need to be open to receive, because we are blocking our blessing, but then we're also blocking someone who God has instructed to help us. We're blocking their blessing if they're not able to do what God's asked them to do as well. So I'm looking at the time here. I can't believe this hour has already gone. So I need to wrap this up. I do want to ask you, I think your story is so amazing, again, because this is a story 8 years in the making, right? And if you think about, you know, at that point when you and your husband first said, we want to start our family, that this journey would have never imagined that this would have been the journey that you had to take
at all
for your family. And so I think a great part of your story is trusting God when it is totally left. Like, it is totally nowhere you would have ever wrote the timeline, the way it happened, those things. And a lot of times we pray and we have it neatly in our package of how we want God to do it, when we want Him to do it. We have all those things in that way. And if He doesn't happen that way, we're disappointed. You know, we feel some type of way about God, but we have to really trust Him in whatever way He decides to answer our prayers. And so I went back and looked at your infertility story, because I remember I always asked for my guests, what story, what is the message? And you talked previously that God was preparing you through your entire process.
Yes.
And you were still not even knowing that, still being prepared, not only through the infertility journey, but through the birth, like infertility, then you conceive, and then your story is still going on, because you still have to wait 3 months to bring your son home. You're still having to trust in God. But I love the new message in this story. If God brings you to it, He'll bring you through it. So as encouragement, as we close out, talk about the faith journey, talk about the role faith played in this long, difficult, but obviously at the end, successful story that God has brought you through.
Faith was just the most important thing that I had to lean on the entire time, because I had nothing else. I didn't know when my son was going to be released from the hospital. I didn't know what was going to happen from day to day. I didn't know. And that part of me not knowing was the hardest part, because I'm someone who I plan out everything.
It was control, like that's control.
To a T. Like I have it planned out. Like, even when my cousin who just got married, I'm planning out the bachelorette trip with like an itinerary. We have it all together. Like, I'm that person. And so this was something that I could not plan. I couldn't do anything. The only thing that I could do was pray and have faith that God was going to bring my son home, and he did.
Yeah.
But I had to trust him in that. And there was times during that process where I'm like, you know what, I don't know what's going on, and I'm just done. I have nothing left in me. I don't want to have faith today. I don't want to do any of this.
That's real. That's real.
We get into those modes, and we get
like, I'm not talking to you, God,
angry
right
at
now.
God. You know,
I'm not
just
talking
like
to you.
I got an attitude, whatever. No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not going to receive help. No, I'm not going to, and I'm just going to sit here in my feelings about it.
And that's human, right? That's real.
100% is.
That's human,
100%.
That's real. Yeah.
100% is. And just during this process, I had to learn to not even just lean on my faith, but lean on my family and my friends, because they were the ones that were literally holding me up.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you, when my son got discharged from the hospital, the relief that I felt, like physically, like I felt lighter physically, and the praise that erupted in that car on the drive home was just none other. The amount of times that my husband and I just sit there and look at our son, and we just thank God that we even have him.
Because that testimony makes you appreciate more, right? That testimony that you have. Wow.
So much more.
Like, I think about as you tell your story, like if everything had been proper, you know, you try, you get pregnant on the first time, you have a 9 month, no issue. I mean, you still love your child and all that, but there's something different about when you go through a journey and when you struggle and really understand what you've been through and the way that God has answered your prayer. And you can look at that answer each time, and you're reminded of his goodness.
I'm gonna tell my son too when he gets older. This is what happened, and this is what happened, and went on for us to bring you into this world.
He needs to know he's a miracle, but he's somebody we've been praying for. Like we have been praying for him, and just the love and everyone that was rejoicing, not only, you know, at the sign of, yes, I'm pregnant, and then the baby's here, and now the baby's in NICU, but now he's home. It's times that we're continuing to pray, then we rejoice. Like, we're literally going through that journey with you. And I see a question on here. So Ann, it looks like everybody made it over to YouTube. So thank you. I know we had some issues on Facebook tonight, so glad everybody's still able to join us. But Ann is asking, how is your son today? And
my
his
son is
name?
wonderful.
Yes.
My son's name is, he will be 1 on the 19th. Yes. His name is Jason. And he is doing wonderful. He is
keep Jason in your prayers. Yes, keep Jay in your prayers.
Crawling around. He's saying "Dad," which I'm upset about, but you know, what can I do?
It's always first.
But no, he's doing great. He's been hitting all the milestones. So the doctors have no concerns with anything. We
love it.
It's like he's a full-term baby.
And this is going to be it'll be a distant memory. It's something we won't forget, but it's going to be a memory of what God brought us through. And I think as we close, like again, your story is so meaningful for me, because I remember when you called me, and I remember when you were in tears, and I remember we've been struggling with infertility, and somebody sent me to your show, and I don't know you, I've never met you, but I'm praying for you, and I'm like, God, we believe, like, we have faith, and we believe that she's going to be a mom one day. And again, not knowing how God's going to unfold the story, but hearing you come back twice and share how he answers our prayers. Sometimes 100%. We got to just trust when we don't understand. We got to trust when we don't see his hand even moving.
It taught me that, like, God, you got it. You are the author of this entire thing. So listen.
Yeah. And sometimes faith is harder. Sometimes faith is harder for some people than others, especially depending on that personality type, depending on sometimes you want to have control over your life. And some people it's hard to, so I keep hearing when you're talking, surrender. Yes. Like, you had to surrender to God. And sometimes surrender is just very difficult, because we want it. And God, if you're not going to do it the way I want it, then I'm going to be mad at you. I'm not talking to you.
But even thinking back on when we started this process, my husband and I trying to conceive, if God knows what he's doing, because looking back on it, I wasn't ready for a kid then. I wanted one for sure.
Wow.
You know, because I'm like, this is the next step. Of course I want to have a baby. But looking at it, like, not even just, you know, financially, but really just emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, we were not ready.
Wow.
As a unit. And
but God knew. He
knew exactly. He knew exactly.
God.
Our son came when we were ready.
Yes.
At that point in time.
Yes. at the appointed time. At the appointed time. So we thank God for Jason. We thank God for you and your husband. We thank you for joining us and sharing your story. And as a reminder to all of our guests, Shonda's full story. This is only a snippet of her story, but her full blog will be at faithfulmoms.org first thing tomorrow morning. So please either go over to the website or you can join us tonight and leave your email address, and we will send an email to your inbox first thing in the morning with her story. So we invite you to join us all month long as we bring more stories about moms who have faced premature birth and all the emotions that come with that. We just thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week. God bless you.
Thanks.